Okay, for those coming from the Instagram account, as I said, I am home. For those that just found this video on YouTube, come straight here. I am back home. The trip did not go as planned. I had some problems along the way and one or two disappointments, but nevertheless, it turned out to be a fairly enjoyable trip anyway. Um, the trip started off very well. I left Port Elizabeth with my son. In the rain. It was a fairly overcast day, a really good day for traveling actually, and we made our way all the way up the west coast. Well, um, past Cape Town. We didn't go into Cape Town. We went through Paarl and Franschhoek. Really nice place, Franschhoek. The first time I've ever seen it. Beautiful place. But we ended up in Dwarskerspos for the night. That was our first stop. I'm not going to go through every single stop that we went, but we had a fairly decent trip up. We spent 2 days in Dwarskerspos, which was very nice. We had a few things to do there in the area. I went to check out some ground there that I have some interest in, and yeah, it was very good fun. And we got to test the Land Cruiser's four-wheel drive properly for the first time on the farm there. It worked fine. We actually used it many times during the trip after this, and it worked perfectly. But to cut a long story short, we ended up one of our stops after Dwarskerspos was a place or a little town that I didn't even know existed called Koyangnas. A friend of mine organized with one of his friends for me or for my son and myself to go and spend a night with his friend Jacques in Koyangnas, where Jacques has got an airfield there, his own little airstrip. He has an aircraft there in a little hangar on the side of the airfield. He has these little land yachts. It's like a semi go-kart thing with a sail that he cruises up and down and plays the fool on the runway there. Very lot of fun. We actually, the day we got there, and we only spent one night there, he took us out to the hangar and we pulled these things out and we had a bit of fun with them. But then he's also got these little pipe cars with a VW Beetle motor in and Beetle suspension. They're equipped with LED headlights, and that's about all the lights they've got. But after we spent the afternoon until it started to get dark on the runway playing with these land yachts, we went out and we had some good fun in the sand dunes there with these pipe cars, which was fantastic fun. And by the way, Jacques, if you're watching this, thank you very much. My son and I had a really great time. And although you don't know this, on our way back, we actually passed through Koyangnas again. All my son wanted to do was go and spend the night, and I said, no, I don't want to overstay my welcome. It was fantastic. Thank you very much for your hospitality and your in Afrikaans they say vrygewigheid, your generosity. It's very much appreciated on behalf of myself and my son. Thank you very much. After that, we went through to Springbok, as they say in Afrikaans, and we went to get our COVID tests. Now, this is where the trip started to go all pear-shaped. Normally, the normal process is you go to a pathcare and you just pay for your test, and they send you your results. You can download them and print them and take them to the border, and that should be it. We got to pathcare in Springbok, and there's a sign on the door that said they do not do COVID tests any longer for international travel, which kind of put a spanner in the works. Our only alternative after that was to go to the hospital. I thought, well, they must have cases there. Let's go to the hospital. I went to the hospital, and in a nutshell, I had to spin them a bit of a bullshit story to get tested, myself and my son. We ended up getting tested, and they told us, that was the Thursday, they told us Saturday we would get our results on the Saturday. So we spent the night in Springbok, and the next morning I said to my son, you know what, I'm pretty sure we're both negative. Let's go. So we headed off. We were going to go into a border post by the name of Sendelingsdrift, which is not the westernmost border post, but it's the westernmost public one. The one at Oranjemund you can't really use unless you've got permits and all that kind of shit. That's mainly for the diamond industry. So we went to Sendelingsdrift. We went through part of the Richtersveld, through what I would call the desert there. I mean, it's just sand and sand. It was fantastic driving. Once again, we had to use the four-wheel drive in some places. But other places, the sand doesn't seem to be too deep there, but it is just sand as far as you can see. And the wind has sort of blown. I don't know who maintains the roads there, if you can call them that, but they slowly just disappear. They're just an indentation, a stripe in the sand, you can say. But we managed to find Sandilands Drift, and we were promptly told that no, we cannot cross there because that post is closed. So they advised us we had to go to Fjordsdrift, which is a little bit further east along the border. So it's the way we had come is basically the way anybody else would have gone. Well, most people would have gone to get to Fjordsdrift. Is a long way around. So we inquired and found out that there is a shortcut through what I can only describe as a very dry riverbed, through a canyon basically. They told us that it's pretty rough, but the guy that we asked alongside the road, he told us where we can go in and where we can find this road. He took a look at the car and he said, no, it's fine. We well prepared for it. We should handle it. So son and myself headed off into this canyon, and what a beautiful drive, four-wheel drive. There's one place in there where I would imagine all the overlanders, the four-wheel drive guys, have been over the years, and there are literally thousands of I don't know if you probably know what a stalagmite is and a stalactite. It's basically a stone deposit. Well, these were man-made stones packed in these little heaps, look like little Eiffel Towers everywhere, and there are literally thousands of them. We drove through there, and eventually we came out at the Orange River along the border, and the gravel road took us along the border, and we literally came out at the Fjordsdrift border post. It was late in the afternoon, and I didn't want to we didn't have our COVID results yet, so we stayed at the caravan park, right at the border post. And the next morning, or rather that night, I think we were there one night, yeah. During the evening, both of our results came back negative, but it was in SMS form. So I knew this was going to be a problem, but I said to my son, you know what, we are going to take a chance anyway. The next morning, we got up early and packed up quickly, got our stuff ready, got our passports and papers, the registration papers and insurance papers and everything else for the car, proving that it's mine and everything else. And we went to we started to make our way to the border post. But just before we got into the car, my son noticed water dripping from the front of the car. So I said to him, no, don't worry, it's the aircon, you know, because I had turned it on and the aircon was extremely effective. But I took a look anyway, and it turned out that this water was green, which told me that it was radiator water. I couldn't find the leak. It wasn't too bad. It was dripping. But we checked the radiator, and it had lost. I couldn't see water in the radiator, so we filled it up, and it never stopped dripping. But I said, you know what? Let's go. Let's get into Namibia, and we can always turn around at some point. It won't be the end of the world. At least we can say we got into Namibia. We went into the border post, went to the customs there, and they even went so far as phoning the Namibian side, and our side wasn't going to be a problem. They didn't care. They couldn't care less. The Namibian side said no ways. They will not accept the SMS. It had to be a printed certificate with a doctor's signature on it. So that was the end of the Elundu project, as I had planned. Namibia was not going to happen, so I said to my son, you know what, we've come all this way. So I decided let's head back west to the coast again. So we actually went the long way around. Back the route we came to Sandilands Drift, but this time we carried on and we went to Port Nolloth, which is fairly way up north on the west coast. And then we slowly made our way all the way down the west coast, through the Northern Cape, all along the beach really. And this is where the four-wheel drive really came into its own. I have a newfound respect for the Land Cruiser's four-wheel drive ability. There was only one place where I was in four-wheel drive, but I hadn't let the wheels down yet. I was still riding on fairly high tire pressures for the tar, and we'd gone in, and I said, well, let's see how far we go. And we got to a little sand dune where the sand was fairly soft, and I I was not going to get up there. So I stopped immediately, reversed out of it, reversed back to the lower ground, the harder ground, and we let the tires down to around 0.8, 0.9 bar, and that was it for the rest of the trip. I mean, the Land Cruiser just sailed through everything we put in front of it. But that trip down was absolutely fantastic. You know, Namibia would have been great. I had an aim. One aim in Namibia was to go to the Elundu base, and we were going to go up via the west, via the coast, Ludwitz and Henties Bay, those places. That would have been fantastic. I'd love to see that. But the rest of Namibia is pretty sparse. There's nothing to see there, especially considering the fact that we were not going through the Etosha Park. There wouldn't be much wild or game to see along the route. So, you know, apart from the fact that all I wanted to do was to get to Elundu, there wouldn't have been much scenery, put it that way. And that's where our return trip to Port Elizabeth actually, from that perspective, was better than I would imagine Namibia would have been. We went through Elands Bay and Honderklip Bay, beautiful places. But the trip between Lambert's Bay or Lambert's Bay and the Groen Rivier or Green River mouth was absolutely fantastic. A nice, real 4x4 trip. And then from there, another 4x4 trip along the coast until further down was a real lot of fun. There's a complete seal colony that lives in the reserve there. We went in there, we walked on the rocks amongst the seals. You'll see we actually you could actually get close enough to touch the seal pups. It must have been just after seal birthing season or birthing time. There are thousands of baby seals all over the place, and adults obviously too. But the place stinks to high heaven. But it was fantastic to actually just walk amongst them and experience that. It was fantastic. But after that, basically, once we entered the Western Cape, Mossel Bay area, you know, then it just becomes normal traveling and on the tar again. So yes, the trip ended up a bit of definitely a disappointment for me. It cost, look, I had planned for it, but it did cost a hell of a lot of money and I never achieved my main aim of the trip, which was going to the Elundu base in Namibia. But also, and this is a real big disappointment and a letdown for me. As you all know, I started this channel. I started off just over a year ago now. A year, not even a year, not even 13 months ago. I started off with nothing. I'd been unemployed. I'd lost everything, and I joined a company on the 21st of December 2019, and yeah, I'm sure all of you have heard of the demise of MTI. I joined MTI, and as I told you in previous videos, I funded this entire trip, and MTI basically earned me a living for the last year. But in mid to late December, I don't even know what the date was now, just before my trip actually, Johan Steinberg, the owner of MTI, just vanished. He's apparently in Brazil somewhere, or he went to Brazil. Who knows where he is now? But MTI is no more. For those of you who might have tried scanning the QR code that I put on a sticker on the side of my Land Cruiser, I've pulled those stickers off now. Please do not try and join MTI. Nobody knows what has happened there, but nobody's getting their money or their Bitcoin anymore. It turns out that it is possible that it might have been a big scam all along. So yeah, that's all gone. I have lost my entire income again. I'm back to square one. I have a Toyota Land Cruiser, but it's not the end of the world. You know, I've survived worse things in my life. We will recover from this, but it's going to take a little time, and well, hopefully not too much time. I don't have too much money to last me too long. So that is the story of the Elundu project for now. The Elundu project is by no means dead. As you can see in the background behind me, just there, I now have my awning fitted to the Land Cruiser. I actually had to set off on my trip without it. Someone in Port Elizabeth promised me the brackets. I sent them the drawings down, and they promised to have the brackets ready for me before I left, so that I'd be able to fit the awning and leave. And that never happened. I went on the whole trip without the awning. By the time I got back, the brackets had been made, and with a little bit of work, I fitted the awning in Port Elizabeth at my dad's place. And yeah, the thing is great. I mean, if only we had that in the Richtersveld, where the temperatures there were horrendous. But that's another thing. I mean, you can be 10-15 kilos inland there on the west coast, in line more or less with Port Nolloth, and the temperature will be 40 and above. You go to the coast and you need to put on a sweater. It is the wind coming off the Atlantic Ocean there is freezing cold. It's a different world. Now I've seen it, and I've had a taste of this overlanding scene. I definitely want more. So I am now 100% focused on recovering from loss of my income and to regain an even better income. I do have a few things on the cards, and this time my Bitcoin will be in my control. I will not give my Bitcoin to anybody else to look after. So yeah, there's enough said of MTI. Sad story. It's over. No good crying over sport milk. So yeah. So that's the Land Cruiser. She's all in one piece. I had to buy a new radiator once we had got back to Port Elizabeth. We made it all the way down the coast. Not too much of a problem, stopping every 30 to 50 kilos to fill up with water. And once we got to Vredendal, I went to an AutoZone there, and I bought a bottle of this Muti that you throw in a leaking radiator, which helped a hell of a lot. It slowed the water leakage down quite considerably. And I made it back to PE fine. I definitely didn't damage the motor at all. It never overheated once. I was very, very careful of that. I managed to buy a new radiator in Port Elizabeth, and big ups to Silverton Radiators in Port Elizabeth. You guys did a fantastic job of getting me one next day, and the right product, same radiator, identical. What I'm going to do is, after this video, the videos that you haven't seen, some of the clips that I've got still left over, I will just put in a long edited version at the end of this, and I will try and just give some commentary of, if I can remember, where they were taken. Most of them were taken between Lambert's Bay and the other side of Groenriviermond. I can't remember where we came out after Groenriviermond, but we did another stretch along the beach, and a lot of these videos, or most of them, were taken or between there anyway. So enjoy the videos. I'm going to edit them quite a bit. It was the first time I actually bought my son one of these action cams. It wasn't a GoPro, but very similar, and I bought it for him. He's taken up spearfishing, and he wanted one of these things, so I bought him one of these things on one condition: we used it first on the trip. So it was a bit of a learning curve. I only found out how to switch the recording button on and off after a while. I ended up recording a lot of my lap along the way, but I will edit all of that out, and there should be some decent footage. Just nice stuff, nice scenery along the coast, nice sea sand driving, four-wheel drive driving. But yeah, enjoy. I will catch you in the next video. First
First
gear.
gear.
That's it. Over there.
This is quite fun.
Are you still in first? Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, wait till they're gone. Okay, go. Go, 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 go! Stop. I don't think he was first. You must gas it now. Foot off, foot off.
saw me.